welcome to the Target UPSC Prelims 2024, and this is the MCQ series, and the subject which we are covering is economy, and this is the episode 4 of economy. So let's begin. The first question is, consider the following statements in regards with the Financial Stability and Development Council, that is FSDC. First, it is a statutory body. Second, Joint Secretary of Department of Economic Affairs is the Secretary of FSDC. Which of the statement given above is or are correct? One only, two only, both one and two, neither one nor two. So let's talk about the correct answer. The correct answer is option B, that is two only. So the Financial Stability and Development Council, which is the FSDC, it is a non-statutory apex council. So it first becomes wrong. It is non-statutory in nature and it works under the Ministry of Finance. And it works under the Ministry of Finance, which is constituted by an executive order. The idea of creating FSDC was first mooted by Raghuram Rajan, who was the then governor of the RBI in the year 2008. RBI governor. Objectives of monetary policy are as follows: maintaining financial stability, financial sector development, inter-regulatory coordination, financial literacy, financial inclusion, macro-prudential supervision of the economy, including the functioning of large financial conglomerates, and the Joint Secretary of the Department of Economic Affairs is the Secretary of the FSDC. So second is correct. Therefore, option B, that is 2 only, is the correct answer. Next question. Indian government bond yields. Indian government bond yields are influenced by which of the following? First, actions of the United States Federal Reserve. Second, actions of the RBI. Third, inflation and short-term interest rates. Select the correct answer using the codes given below: 1 and 2 only, 2 only, 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. So the answer for this question is option D, that is 1, 2 and 3. It means all of them. Let's know the answer or the explanation. Bond is an instrument to borrow money. So it is an instrument to borrow money. A bond could be issued by a country's government or by a company to raise funds. So a company or a government both can issue it. Bond yield is the return an investor realizes on a bond. So imagine this is a bond and the interest an investor gets is the bond yield. The mathematical formula for calculating bond yield is the annual coupon rate. So annual coupon rate divided by the current market price. So the annual coupon rate divided by the current market price of the bond. So this is the formula for getting the bond yield. Movements in yields depends on trends in interest rates. It can result in capital gains or losses for investors. A rise in bond yield in the market will bring the price of the bond down. A drop in bond yield would benefit the investor as the price of the bond will rise. So the price of bond is inversely proportional to the bond yield. A drop in bond yield would benefit the investor as the price of the bond will rise, generating capital gains. Fed tapering is the gradual reduction in the bond buying program of the US Federal Reserve. So any action of the United States Federal Reserve impact the bond yield in India. So first becomes correct. The actions of the RBI plays a crucial role in determining the yield of government bonds. Second becomes correct. The sovereign yield curve has a special significance for monetary policy in influencing a wide array of interest rates in the economy. So third also becomes correct. So inflation and short-term interest rates also influence the yield of government bonds. So all three are correct. Therefore option D is the correct answer. Now next question. If the RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, decides to adopt an expansionist monetary policy, which of the following would it not do? So if RBI decides to adopt an expansionist monetary policy, which of the following would it not do? First, cut and optimize the statutory liquidity ratio, increase the marginal standing facility rate, or cut the bank rate and repo rate. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 and 2 only, 2 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. The correct answer is option B, that is 2 only, which is increase the marginal standing facility rate. Now let's see the explanation. So the expansionist monetary policy or the easy monetary policy is when the central bank uses its tool to stimulate the economy. Stimulate the economy means putting the money in the economy. It increases the money supply. So the money supply increases in the market, lowers interest rates and increases demand. It therefore boosts the economic growth. So if we talk about the statutory liquidity ratio, it is a monetary policy tool that RBI uses to assess the liquidity at banks' disposal. It is the minimum percentage of deposit that a commercial bank has to maintain in the form of cash, gold, or other securities. It is basically the reserve requirement that banks are expected to keep before offering credit to customers. Raising SLR makes the banks park more money in government securities and reduce the level of cash in the economy. Therefore, first becomes wrong. Marginal standing facility is a window for scheduled banks to borrow overnight. To borrow overnight from the RBI in an emergency situation when interbank liquidity dries up completely. With the increase of MSF rate, cost of borrowing increases for the banks, resulting in reduced available resources to lend. Therefore, option 2 is correct. Now, third, cut the bank rate and repo rate. Repo rate or repurchase rate is a key monetary policy. It is the rate of interest at which the central bank, which is the RBI, lends short-term money to bank. Lends money, short-term money to bank against the collateral of government and other approved securities under the liquidity adjustment facility, which is LAF. If we talk about the bank rate is the interest rate which the RBI charges on its long-term lendings. So it is for long-term. Repo rate was for short-term. Under the expansionary monetary policy, RBI reduces repo rate and bank rate to increase liquidity in the banking sector. Hence, 3 is not correct. So, third is not correct. So, second one was correct, third one was not correct, first was not correct. Therefore, the correct answer becomes option B, that is 2 only, as it is asking if the RBI decides to adopt an expansionary monetary policy, which of the following would it not do? So, 2 only. Next question. When the Reserve Bank of India reduces the statutory liquidity ratio by 50 basis points, which of the following is likely to happen? India's GDP growth rate increases drastically. Foreign institutional investors may bring more capital into the country. Scheduled commercial banks may cut their lending rates. It may drastically reduce the liquidity to the banking system. So, the correct answer for this is option C, that is the scheduled commercial banks may cut their lending rates. So, the SLR is a prudential measure under which all scheduled commercial banks in India have to maintain an amount in the form of, as I just discussed, that is cash, gold and other securities as a percentage of their net demand and time liabilities. When the SLR is high, banks have less money for commercial operations and hence less money to lend out. It results in higher lending rates. So, lending rates become higher. On the other hand, when RBI decreases SLR, so when SLR decreases, banks may cut their lending rates. Therefore, option C is the correct answer. Next question. In the context of Indian economy, open market operation refers to borrowing by scheduled banks from the RBI, lending by commercial banks to industry and trade, purchase and sale of government securities by the RBI, or none of the above? So the correct answer for this question is option C, that is purchase and sale of government securities by the Reserve Bank of India. OMO, that is open market operations, are the sale and purchase of government securities and treasury bills by the central bank of the country. The objective of OMO is to regulate the money supply. So to regulate the money supply in the economy, when the RBI wants to increase the money supply in the economy, it purchases government security. So this is RBI, this is economy. So when the RBI wants to increase the money supply in the economy, it purchases the government securities. So then it purchases from the market and sells government securities to suck out liquidity from the system and sells. RBI carries out the OMO through commercial banks and does not directly deal with the public. Therefore, option C is the correct answer. Next question. Which among the following is or are quantitative measures of monetary policy? Quantitative. So there are qualitative measures and then there are quantitative measures. So which among the following are quantitative measures? First, liquidity adjustment facility. Second, statutory liquidity ratio. Marginal standing facility, MSF. Moral suasion or loan to margin ratio. Select the correct answer using the code given below. That is 1, 4 and 5 only, 1, 2 and 3 only, 2 and 4 only, all of the above. The correct answer is option B, which is LAF, that is liquidity adjustment facility, statutory liquidity ratio and marginal standing facility. So 4th and 5 are not, they are qualitative. Now let's look at this. There are several qualitative and quantitative tools that are used by the RBI for implementing monetary policy. So let us know about the quantitative instrument. So the quantitative instrument are also known as general tools. So they are also known as general tools used by the RBI. As the name suggests, these instruments are related to the quantity and volume of the money. These instruments are indirect in nature and are designed to control the total volume money of the bank credit in the economy. It consists of banks rate policy, open market operation and cash reserve ratio. Banks rate policy, open market operation and cash reserve ratio. So bank rate, first is the bank rate, then the OMO or the LAF. So let us know about the LAF first. So a liquidity adjustment facility is a tool used in monetary policy primarily by the RBI that allows banks to borrow money through repurchase agreement, that is repos, or to make loans to the RBI through reverse repo. So it has repo and reverse repo. Then comes SLR, that is statutory liquidity ratio. So the share of NDTL that a bank is required to maintain is safe and liquid assets such as government securities, cash and gold. Changes in SLR often influence the availability of resources in the banking system for lending to the private sector. So second also becomes right. And third, marginal standing facility. So a facility under which scheduled commercial banks can borrow additional amount of overnight money. So it is about the overnight money from the Reserve Bank, RBI, by using SLR securities. This provides a safety valve against unanticipated liquidity shocks to the banking system. So third also becomes correct. If we talk about the qualitative measures, then moral suasion and loan to margin ratio comes under the qualitative measures, not the quantitative measures. Therefore, option B is the correct answer, which is 1, 2 and 3. Next, the proceeds from disinvestment are included non-tax revenue, revenue receipts, capital receipts or tax revenue. So the correct answer for this is the capital receipt. Disinvestment, if we talk about, then disinvestment refers to withdrawal of existing investment. It is the withdrawal of existing. It means what is presently done. It is the withdrawal of existing investment. It involves the sale of government stake. Sale of government stake in public sector enterprises to strategic or financial buyers, either through the sale of shares on stock exchanges or through the sale of shares directly to buyers. Thus, disinvestment is a capital receipt of the government as it reduces assets of the government. Therefore, option C is the correct answer. Next question. The asset or assets that a borrower pledges in order to guarantee repayment of a loan is called as check, collateral, guarantee card, or bond. So the correct answer is option B, that is collateral. Let's see this. Collateral. It refers to an asset that a lender accepts as security for a loan. So if we talk about collateral, which is the correct answer, it refers to an asset that a lender accepts as security for a loan. Collateral may take the form of real estate or other kind of assets depending on the purchase of the loan. The collateral acts as a form of protection for the lender. So it acts as a form of protection for the lender. That is, if the borrower defaults on their loan payment, the lender can seize the collateral and sell it to recoup some or all of its losses. So the assets or assets that a borrower pledges in order to guarantee repayment of a loan is called as collateral, because it gives the guarantee that in the end the lender will be able to get the amount back. Next. In national income accounts, that is NI, in national income accounts, personal income is defined as NI, undistributed profits, net interest payments made by households, corporate tax plus transfer payments to the households from the government and firms. B. NI, undistributed profits, corporate tax plus transfer payments to the households from the government and firms. C. Undistributed profits, net interest payments made by households plus transfer payments to the households from the government and firms. D. Undistributed profits, net interest payment made by household plus corporate tax. The correct answer is option A, that is NI, that is national income. Undistributed profits, net interest payments made by household, corporate tax plus transfer payments to the household from the government and firms. Let's know the explanation. National income accounting is used for determining the overall condition of the individuals living in a country on the basis of their economic status. So the economic status can be identified from it. This in turn gives us an idea of the national income of the whole country. The method of calculating the income of the whole country is different from that of an individual's income. So individual income and whole country income is different. There are 4 methods of calculating the income of a nation, that is GDP, gross domestic product, NDP, net domestic product, GNP, gross national product, and NNP, that is the net national product. So the personal income refers to that part of national income which is received by the household. So PI can be calculated as personal income equals to national income, undistributed profits, then net interest payment made by households, then corporate tax plus transfer payment to the household from the government and firms. So this is how the personal income is calculated. Therefore option A is the correct answer. Next, which of the following is not a component of revenue receipts of the union government? Is not a component of revenue receipt of the union government? Corporate tax receipt, dividends and profits, disinvestment receipts, or interest receipts? So the correct answer for this is option C, that is disinvestment receipt. Let us know about it. First of all, about the revenue receipts. It refers to those receipts which neither create any liability nor cause any reduction in the assets of the government. They are regular, so they are regular and recurring in nature. Revenue receipts are mainly of two types, that is, it is mainly of two types, that is tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Tax revenue is the money earned by the government via the levy and collection of direct tax, includes income tax, corporate tax, indirect tax, that includes goods and services tax, custom duties, etc. So corporate tax receipts comes under it, interest receipts comes under it. Then non-tax revenue, the money earned by the government from the sources other than the tax sources. It includes interest receipts, dividends and profits, grants in aid, contribution, etc. Then comes capital receipts. It refers to those receipts which either create liability or reduce the asset value, such as disinvestment receipts. So disinvestment receipts does not come under revenue receipts, it comes under the capital receipts. Therefore, the correct answer becomes option C. Now, next question, and this is the practice question. And what you have to do, like always, you people will give me the answer in the comment section. Which of the following statements are correct? First, ability to pay principle of taxation holds that the amount of taxes people pay should relate to their income or wealth. Second, the benefit principle of taxation states that individuals should be taxed in proportion to the benefit they receive from government programs. Third, a progressive tax takes a larger share of tax from poor families than it does from the rich families. Fourth, indirect taxes have the advantage of being cheaper and easier to collect. So these four are the statements. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 and 3 only, 2 and 4 only, 1, 2 and 4 only, 1, 2, 3 and 4 only. Like always, give me the answer in the comment section. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep subscribing to the channel. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.